Well, we're within 3 to 4 weeks of having a new president. And although this transition period has been all but quiet, we've had crazy news stories. There's 3 I want to bring attention to today. And these 3 tend to not have anything to do with the politics of anything. It has to do with being prepared. It has to be with being sustainable. There's 3 stories. One is having to do with the fact that our grocery prices are fixing to soar. Now, why are they going to soar? It's not just inflation and what we should do. Secondly, there's a polar vortex. They said that just unbelievably cold temperatures are coming in the south part of the United States, and it will hit the majority of the United States, but it will affect the southeast part of the United States because they're not used to temperatures like this. The trees are not used to it. The utilities are not used to it. So how can we get ready for something like that? Also, the CDC just came out with a warning saying that, hey, this severe case of avian flu jumping to humans, we have to be ready. Are we seeing the signs of a next pandemic? Not because you think it's that dangerous, it's because the speculation of it may affect you. It may affect what you do day in and day out, depending on the state, the county, and the city that you live in, the school systems your kids go to. All that will be affected because of this new report. So today we're going to talk about what you should be doing and making sure that you are ready for these situations and these scenarios as they come and face you head on. 3 to 4 weeks we're going to have a new president. But what we've seen is they're going to throw a lot at him. Things that deal with politics. And then some things like this that may not can be helped, but it needs to be handled. Well, that comes down to you. What are you doing to prepare? Because even though we have a great administration hopefully coming in, we can't look to Washington to fix all our problems. That's why we need to pay attention to these stories. Let's dive in. Hey guys, welcome to the Max. Thank you so very much for being here today. If you are new to the channel, go down here, press subscribe, ring the bell, and we humbly ask that you give us a thumbs up and you comment below. Tell us what you think about the content of today's video. Now you can tell we're inside. It is flooding outside, and we butchered chickens yesterday. You'll see that on the Life with Colby video coming out today. So go check out that video. It'll be the 5th basically vlog of sustainable living on that channel. Go check that out and subscribe to that channel. Make sure that you're into that giveaway because we're going to do a giveaway on that channel and this channel at the end of this month. But it was flooding and nasty, but now we're starting to actually see the wind and heavy storms come in. Now, what I think this is part of that vortex or whatever they said is coming in, this cold front that's coming to this area. So we're inside because the rain is coming down. Now let's jump into these stories. First, let's talk about this polar vortex, and then we're going to move on to groceries, and then finally the CDC warning. Now, we're not used to 20-degree weather, 10-degree weather, 0-degree weather here in Mississippi. We're not even really used to having sustainable 30-degree days as the high for a long period of time. It's just not something that we see a lot. Well, this new polar vortex, they're saying, is going to bring unbelievable amount of cold weather, not only to the full United States, but to regions that are not used to it. This is a report that says all systems go for a polar vortex air dumping into the U.S. It says new forecasts show and predict that the weather is going to be an Arctic blast or polar vortex, and it's set to hit the eastern half of the United States during the 2nd week of January. So that's about 2.5 weeks away, right there around the inauguration and all the things going on. It says U.S. natural gas markets respond early Friday by jumping 5%. Now listen to that. The speculation of this storm has made natural gas go up. And it says big overnight colder trends will be coming. The key here is making sure that you are prepared for the polar vortex. It says the ability for storm fronts and to pull in cold air and amplify is just going to be highlighted in mid-January. Now, again, for people that's up north, you're probably laughing because you're like, oh, come on, we're used to that. Well, we're not here. Did you see, though, the price of natural gas jumping? You'll see the same thing with the gas pump, too. It will do the same thing. So here's how you can prepare for that. This is sustainable living here, people, is making sure that you have enough propane. You know what I did last week? Not knowing this was coming, but again, because it's cold time and it's cold weather season, 2 things I did last week. I went on and bought an extra 3 propane tanks. Now, they're like the little ones that runs gas generators, that runs gas grills. Also, it's able to be used to cook on when it comes to the grills or griddles that we have. So we bought those last week, so we were not affected. We were not affected by the 5% increase. Now, another thing we did is we started cutting more wood and splitting more wood. Now, we have a wood fireplace, actually have 2, and so we utilize those not only to heat, but to cook and to have just in case. Light source, and of course it makes our room warm up. It's perfect. Filled your cars up or made sure you picked up some extra propane or natural gas this week, you need to do that. If you have just gas logs, that's okay. You may want to find another way to heat your home, and we bought a standalone propane heater and an infrared heater. We have those just in case. Now, those things we've had over the past years, but as we prepare for something like cold weather or blackouts, or where they say our utilities can't handle sustainable 10, 20 degree days here, what's to say our power's not going to go out? How are you going to feed or cook for your family if we can't even get our cars out of the driveway? Why do we want to take the influx of pricing for propane or for gas when we can get it this week? So fill up your gas cans, fill up your gas tanks, and make sure that you have some extra propane on hand. Make sure you have extra blankets. Make sure that you can do all you can to stay warm. If you can help someone that needs firewood, go get it. Actually, we're fixing to help someone this week. There's someone that needs some help, and we're going to take some firewood to them. Now, does that mean it's going to be that bad? We don't know. But the whole point of living sustainable and trying to prep is to have the things you need. So that's 2 things that we did this last week. Also, we butchered chickens yesterday. That's another thing that we're going to be able to put in our freezer and make sure we have. Misty's actually going to be canning a lot of food and meat this week to get it on the shelves and get it out of the freezers just in case we lose power. And one thing else is we checked our generators. We want to make sure that they are up and running. So we have our solar and our gas generators and our propane generators checked and ready to go. So make sure you're ready for these kind of temperatures, because these kind of temperatures, they say, could cause more damage to infrastructure and to health. So make sure you are prepared. Now let's go into the second story, another form of preparedness. There's a second story that said grocery prices are about to soar, all because the ground is not giving crops anymore. It's becoming quote unquote unproductive. Now, this was a Newsweek story. It was shared by Unusual Wells, but what it's saying is, after all the years of all the pesticides, the herbicides, and all this GMO modified trash that we're using and growing, what we've done is we've depleted our soil of true natural minerals, true natural vitamins, true natural fertilization, true natural way of living as in regenerative agriculture. The reason they're pushing against cows, what we don't understand is the way that we typically saw food grow, 100, 150 years ago, were using animals to fertilize the ground, using animals to till up the ground, and then planting your crops in those grounds, and repeat that step. That's what fertilization and keeping weeds out of the gardens and things like that, how that happened was because we utilized animals. Well, that's what regenerative ag is. That's what we're doing here. But here's the case. Most people can't do that. So if we hear a report that says grocery prices are set to soar in January, inflation, but because the ground is becoming unproductive, if you're not able to farm the ground and you're not able to buy from the farmer who's trying to do regenerative practices, then it takes you going to the store and prepping and buying extra food. You have to buy those goods. I think of rice. I think of wheat berries. I think of things that are shelf stable that's going to last forever or close to it. Oats, dried grains. Make sure you put up some of those things. Put up some protein, some powdered milk. Put up some powdered eggs. Those are things that will last on your shelf for 25 to 30 years. I think of grits. I love grits because we're from the South. So you have grits, oatmeal. If we don't start realizing that the severity of not only the politics of the situation, but the fact that our earth has got to heal itself, not because of what Bill Gates says, or not because what this billionaire says, or not because what this crop is doing, it's because we're hurting our earth so much by not allowing it to heal itself. Why do you think buffalo roamed and they grazed over ground, dropping their manure and kept on going, and somehow we always had lush green, massive loads of America? Because ruminant animals such as cow and sheep are going to feed the earth because they're eating it, like cutting the grass, mowing the grass, but then they're dropping that fertilization back in that's giving back to the earth. When you start hearing these conversations by all these people like Gates that says we need to take that animal off the grounds because it's not helping anymore. We need to put chickens in CAFOs. We don't need to raise them on the grounds anymore. That's wrong, because what chickens are doing is they're doing the same thing. They're fertilizing, breaking that manure, and making sure it's spreading across the earth. That's true regenerative practices. Well, because we're not doing those things, because of inflation, and it's going up, even with the Fed lowering the rates, inflation is fixing to skyrocket. Here's another report from UBS. It says nearly all the preconditions of a market bubble are met. What that means is they're going to see some tough times. You may see a correction in the market coming this year. We talked about the coming recession or depression because we cannot keep printing ourselves out of this problem. So you're going to see a problem not with just politics, but with the fact of our grocery prices are going up because of the practices that we've done. So what are you doing to protect your family? Like we used the analogy yesterday, you can't be the little bird chirping in the nest waiting on your mom to come feed you or government to feed you. You have to kind of be proactive and start making those steps and coming around and start either raising your own food or start buying as much as you can. When people say they can't afford to prep, they can't afford to buy extra food, well, you better figure out how to grow it, or you are going to be in the bread lines. This is serious. Unproductive land. The unproduction is not because the land can't give, it's because of what we've done to the land. We've taken the natural sources of fertilization and natural seeds that God's given us, and we've destroyed it. Now, what I tell you to do is 1% better. Like I told you, start growing some food, growing some lettuce, growing some things in pots on porches. Start raising some small animals, and then, of course, grow, if you can have more land, buy bigger animals. Think about cooperatives, living amongst, not really a commune, but look at how the Amish do it. They live next door to people, and then each person does something a little different, so then they can put all their resources together, and they've got a community. We got to start thinking outside the box, or you're going to be the little bird chirping, waiting for the government to take care of you. Now, third report I want to pay attention to is the CDC report of this new strain of the avian flu that's now mutated and made a severe case in Louisiana. Now, I'm not making light of the situation, and I'm not talking about how it's not dangerous. I want you to listen to this, though. This is from a former Pfizer vice president, Dr. Yeadon. He says, claiming that this, if you remember, were deliberately engineered to harm, disable, and to cause problems for humans and for human fertility. Now, does that mean the dangers of 2020 pandemic were not there? No, there were some people that was harmed for it. Does that mean that the hype around it and the dangers that they said that was around it was true? May have not been. But what happened? It caused mass hysteria because the speculation, and the government and state governments backed it. And even if you didn't believe in it, there was businesses. I mean, there was for instance, I went to a grocery store during 2020, and they told me that I can't shop without that covering on my face. Well, we didn't do it. We didn't shop. So we get declined buying merchandise and buying things that we needed because we could not wear something that they told us to wear. Didn't make that I believed in it or not, it's because that was their policy. That's what I'm scared of when we talk about this new warning. It's funny how it's happening right before President Trump. I want you to listen to this. If in the case like him, he's saying they used that crisis for something else, what's to say they're not going to do the same thing here? Listen to this. It says, this is a new report. It says the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has found mutations in samples taken from the man infected with the first severe case of the avian flu. In a December 18th statement, the CDC said the man was infected with the D1 genotype of the virus and is recently detected in wild birds and poultry in the United States. And now we're seeing human cases, British Columbia, Canada, and Washington State. The strain differs from the B3 genotype detected in dairy cows, human cases, and some other across poultry farms. So now they're saying this new mutation is a more severe version than the one that caused the problems with the dairy farms closer to California. Now, California, remember, has already claimed, and I think Colorado was the one that had the problems, but California's already claimed they're going to start a state of emergency because of this, so they could be ready. Now, you in California, majority of you may not believe that. But if your government says this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to allocate funds, this is the protocol that we're going to put in, same with Washington State, It does not matter because they're the ones that hold the goods. They're the ones that control the money. They're the ones that control the tax incentives. They're the ones that control big business when it comes to setting policies for grocery stores or for hospitals or for living conditions in certain areas. See, that's what we don't realize. It doesn't matter if we believe in it or not. If we can't control our own sustainable life, if we can't raise our own food, if we can't be ready, then we depend on people to provide it for us. Well, if we're dependent on people to provide it for us and they drink the Kool-Aid or they believe in the speculation, then they will affect us. Think about that now. I want you to put your thinking cap on. Don't tell me you don't believe in it, because that's fine. I agree with you. 2020, we never checked up. We kept living our life like normal. We really did in our family because we were homeschoolers, homesteaders. I worked for myself, so nothing really changed. However, for people who did not raise their children at home and they had to send them to school, new protocols were met. For the people who had to work in big business places where they had set protocols, new protocols were met. Where people had to go to the grocery stores or go to the co-ops or go to where they needed to buy food, they had to do certain things. If they had to go take care of a situation in a hospital or medical facility, they had to do some different things. So it didn't matter if they believed it or not. It matters because the speculation on the situation made it to where they could utilize that one crisis for whatever their goal was. Now, the H5N1. Is it dangerous? Maybe, maybe not. But it's going to give them the right to get rid of a lot of chickens, a lot of cows, and a lot of poultry. Other than that, wild birds. How do people feed their families? They hunt. They raise chickens. They raise beef. Well, if everybody starts killing them, and remember, the price of cow right now is unfathomable, the cost on the farmer. What if they take the chickens away? What if all of a sudden they kill the wild game? What if all of a sudden they tell us you can't harvest that? You're not registered to harvest that. You can't harvest those deer because they could have an avian flu too. Do you see how that works? It does not matter if you believe in it. It matters what they do. Now, what do we talk about the ground? If we take the chicken and cow away from the ground, then the ground is not going to be healed, so it's going to be less productive, and they're going to use more implements to try to make it more productive, and ultimately you're getting a crop of food that's not good for you. Did you know our animal feed, I have no soy and no corn in because you cannot find a good quality source for a feed provider to have those things in there? I have wild grains, and it's made up of a lot of different kind of things that animals eat. Different vegetations, different flowers, different herbs. Because the quality of what we're producing now, because of the implements and all the sprays and all that we put on the ground, is actually causing more problems for us. All right, so let's wrap it up. Are you prepared for cold weather? That means generators, gas, propane, other ways to cook, alternative ways to put your food up. Are you prepared for unproduction when it comes to the ground? Have you started buying a half a cow or a whole cow from a farmer? Have you started raising your own food? Have you started growing gardens? Have you started stockpiling and buying a lot of these foods that can stay on pantry shelves for a long time? Have you learned how to can food? Just like that chicken we raised yesterday, guess what? We're going to can about 70% of it because then it doesn't need the grid or freezers or anything else to stay good. And it'll stay on our shelves for a long time. And thirdly, there's another pandemic coming. Does it matter if it's a true crisis or not? No, but the speculation of the crisis will cause for things to happen. What do we talk about the polar vortex? The speculation made the price of natural gas go up. Well, I can't harvest natural gas, so that affects me, doesn't it? Same way with this. If we're not raising our own food and we're sending our children to government schools and we're going to work in the typical world that we live in, then guess what? We're going to be affected by it, not because we believe in it, but because other people are going to set policies based on the speculation. So it comes down to you, 2025. Start making this year a year of sustainability, of understanding preparedness, and to be ready. Because these are some of the things that we can help. Some of these are natural, polar vortex, things like that. It could be completely natural. But that's not counting the other 20 or 30 stories about how they're trying to unend and cause problems for the Trump administration. You think it's going to be easy for RFK or for Vivek or for Elon or for Trump or for Tulsi or whomever? No. So on top of the natural problems, you have the political problems And remember, as that Dr. Yeadon said from Pfizer, they used it for their abilities to change the way fertility was looked at and how to control. Don't believe any crisis, political or natural, won't go to waste, especially by the people who want to control us. Guys, let me know your thoughts on this video. As you hear it rain, you see the lightning. It's getting darker, I think, in this room because it's getting darker outside. We appreciate you so much for watching us. Please subscribe to my channel. I'm losing about 500 subscribers a day. I've went downward, and that's not normal. That shows that we're speaking truth. So please, I ask that you please subscribe to the channel and give us a thumbs up. Your thumbs up is like a tip for me, and it helps YouTube know that they need to share my message across this platform. Also, check out the new channel, Life with Colby Mack. We're going to be butchering chickens. You'll see that. You'll see how we live a sustainable life even when it's hard. Also, check out Misty's channel, The Max Life. All these channels are meant to make your life more productive and more manageable for a sustainable living, especially in the crazy world that we live in. Guys, thank you so much for watching. God bless.